Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. I am here with the amazing Ali Wiecek, who is the Customer Experience and Digital Marketing Strategist at Square One. Hi, Ali.
Hi, Claire.
Wonderful to have you here. So Ali and I have known each other or known about each other only for a couple of months. I guess for me, I think you kind of came into my world in social media and in Facebook groups and that sort of thing. A couple of months ago, I started noticing your name and your messaging and that sort of thing. And then randomly, a couple of people were like, oh, have you spoken to Ali? She's really cool and she helped me with this, or I talked to her about such and such in a couple of different ways. So I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, okay, I need to listen to these messages that are coming in and definitely pay attention. And then obviously met you at an event, the Smart Chicks event, a couple of months ago. I think was the first time we met in person, and the rest is pretty much history. So for people who are listening and watching, Ali actually came to my place. So she signed up for a coaching package that I did just for a 2-hour planning session a couple of weeks ago. She came out to my place, which was awesome, just to do something in person rather than online for something different. And then the following week, she came back to my house for about 5 hours because I had also bought a package from her, which I was super excited about. And that was to go through and map out my client journey and my client personas and all of that sort of thing. And I'll get you to maybe talk us through what that sort of process was. But I was literally just blown away. It was absolutely amazing. And to get so much content and quality and so many aha moments for me, and so much like, oh, I wish that you were around when I started my business, and I feel like I would have had a lot more clarity between now and then. So that's why I really wanted to get you on the show, so that you can, I guess, kind of help other people who might be in the same situation, whether they've been in business for a little while or they're kind of brand new to business or they're thinking about getting into it, just to kind of give some insight into what sort of things can really help people in actually developing their business based on who they're serving, which is kind of a pretty critical part of your business, right? So I'll hand over to you. Maybe tell us a bit about you and your experience and who you are, what you do, and about Square One and what your business is about before we get stuck into all the other stuff.
Cool. Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm so pumped about having this chat with you today, and so honored to have been invited. So thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess Ali Wiecek is a short version of my name because it's very long and complicated.
Go on.
I am originally from Venezuela, so you can probably tell by my accent that I'm not Australian. And I came to Australia in 2011 when my husband, Mike, whom I met while working and living in London for about 7 years, promised, good weather and sunshine. So we came to Australia in February 2011 and basically moved to Sydney, got really good jobs, was in corporate back in the UK and here in Australia. And all of a sudden, I think after I had my second baby, I realized that, I kind of wanted to do something different. That corporate and the 9 to 5, and my 9 to 5 was never 9 to 5. It was always 8 to 10. Like I was full time, 5 days a week, really really stressed, and doing something I was really passionate about. So I really thought that what about doing something different, and that's probably the reason why my business, Square One, was born, and really to provide solopreneurs and small and medium-sized business owners with insights and knowledge around customer experience. And that's something that I haven't come across in that space. It's something that mostly large businesses implement and breathe and do every single day, but that's not something that we genuinely have as small business owners the knowledge. So I really wanted to come from a place of empathy and love, and also knowledge, where I could probably share and help other people in providing the beautiful experience that ultimately is going to result in great profits for their business. So yeah, that's
awesome.
That's me.
And I'm interested, I haven't asked you about this before, but why Square One? Why the name? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I wanted to do something where you almost had to go back to square one. You had to go back to basics. And for me, my business is really taking that step back and almost watching, if you were at the movies, what your customers are doing in front of you. And what is happening in the market and what is happening outside your business. So you really take the step back and go back to basics. And that is probably the very beginning of, a strategy process that, most of us do in our businesses. But we do tend to miss that foundational work around sometimes understanding our customers and understanding their pain points. And we do tend, and I personally say, I also do that I make big assumptions about my customers, and it's just really going back to those foundational steps, about talking to your customers, really getting an understanding of where they're coming from and what they need. So yeah, I think that's why Square One. So yeah, going back to that first step that you need to take.
Love it. I actually have been thinking, and probably by the time this is published, there'll be a blog or a video blog about the 5 people I wish I knew before I started my business, and you are definitely one of them.
Thank you. That's awesome.
In some ways, I think it's awesome. And when we did that session a couple of weeks ago, I was just sitting there going, "Oh, why didn't I do this at the beginning?" And it was just so helpful to really understand who my kind of 2 main subsets of clients are. But on the other hand, I also think it's been a process for me to get to this point, and I'm like officially a year in. To this business. I did a little bit, kind of dabbled in it beforehand, but officially I would say I'm a year in. And when I started, I really felt like I just wanted to work with mums of kids who were like under 2 or 3 who were re-entering the workforce, or wanted to not re-enter the workforce but wanted to start their own business. And now that I've been doing it for a year, I realized that was a little bit too over niched for me. I know that's a good niche for some people, but for me that was probably too over niched, and it was just like a really good comfort zone because that was kind of what I was at the time, right? And I still am in some ways. So that was just sort of a comfort level. But now in retrospect, I think, all the other people that I've worked with who haven't fit that bill, who actually are a really great match for me. And it's definitely more people who are in more established businesses and they've been in business for either a year or 5 years or sometimes 10 or 15 years. And that's kind of the group of people who I have definitely been serving the best and had the most kind of impact with. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Like, in one hand, I think, oh, I wish I had you at the beginning. And the other hand, I think it probably would have been a total waste of time because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was making assumptions based on my comfort level rather than my gifts and skills and the things that I was probably bringing to the table. So in that sense, I think the sort of things that we did together in that session was awesome. And something that I keep kind of going back to, by the way, those big pieces of butcher's paper and all the sticky notes are still up on my walls. They're literally still stuck to my walls and I can't bring myself to take them down.
Sorry, I still feel bad about putting so many blue tags.
No, it was totally great. It was absolutely awesome. I love looking at it. And something that was really interesting when I think we were probably about halfway through the session, we talked a bit about the 2 personas and we were starting to talk about the actual journey point and the journey map and the touch points and, what loving my customers really hard kind of looked like for me. And in fact, might have been a little bit earlier, but you said what's this year kind of looks like and what does the future look like? What's there more or less of in the future and that sort of thing. So that was a really interesting kind of check-in as well for me to go, okay, well, I don't want to put in all of these things if it's actually moving me further away from what I want to be doing. And there are some changes. Like next year, I do want to be doing more writing and more of the coaching, more one-on-one stuff, and more of obviously the podcasting and the YouTube shows and videos and speaking and all of that sort of thing. So in that sense, it was really interesting to kind of incorporate that as well and not be putting a process in place for the sake of putting a process in place, and not be designing a new persona of person that I wanted to be working with that was actually going to be taking me further away from my kind of goals for next year. So I really loved sort of how you brought all of that together. So I guess for the sake of kind of fleshing out exactly what we worked on, your words are probably better than mine at the moment, because I'm a bit ranty and, you know, completely obsessed with you and completely obsessed with the process. So it's probably more articulate if you maybe talk us through, you know, where you came from in terms of that set out of the agenda and how the day kind of happened and how that all kind of works when you do that sort of a session with your clients.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the most important outcome of a customer journey mapping session, like the one we did together, is really to reveal those aha moments that perhaps you were not aware of about your customers and about, you know, the top 2 personas that we worked on together. And it's really about understanding, based on your current state, like, what are you offering today? What are the gaps based on what your customers need and want from you? What are the gaps that then you need to fill with moments of what I call moments of delight? So those moments that are going to make a difference in your customer's life. And, you know, I was actually at an event today around customer experience and disruption in big corporations, and you know, this is like big stuff, right? And but they were talking about personalization is not enough. It's all about being individual and how people expect individual treatment for them. So it was really interesting to really kind of think, so we're actually moving a step further into not just delivering a personal experience within these gaps, but being very specific to that person. So it's almost, you need to know that persona, but then you also need to know the people within that persona bucket so well that you can actually understand them really well. And I think a way to do that could perhaps be, you know, in our size business, it could be things like how they behave when they receive a newsletter from you. How do they respond to your social media interactions? You know, are they posting on the posts that are they commenting? Are they engaging with you on a one-on-one basis? Like, almost you get to know them in such a personal way. And I think that's such a beautiful opportunity for us solopreneurs, because we have the chance to have that one-on-one relationship with them. So I think for me, the outcome of a customer journey mapping session is to really understand your top 2 customer personas. So definitely articulate, you know, who they are by name. We get to know them as human beings, their pain points, their challenges. Why would they engage with you? How their lives look like before they even engage with you and after they have engaged with you. And really understand, you know, what are the things that they want for themselves? And also from that, really move then into, with that, kind of putting those lenses on of like, okay, so I know exactly what this customer needs from me. Then you understand your current map and then those gaps. And then that's when you move to like what I call like a future customer journey map, where you actually identify what this persona, this customer really wants from you. What are the channels that you have available to provide that beautiful and delightful experience, whether it's your website, whether it's your Facebook page, whether it's your Instagram account, whether it's just your newsletters, your blogs, your videos, whatever it is, you will map it out in such a way that it becomes a blueprint for your marketing strategy. So it's the very beginning of a marketing strategy, but it's so powerful because you could in fact walk away with this and move on with what you need to do, how you need to sound. You're actually talking the language of your customers because you already thought about them. You kind of articulate what they wanted from you. Something that we didn't do, and it's something that you could do. And I think I explained this when we did our session, that you can do prior to the actual workshop or post the workshop, is validation. Yes. So validation is something that is really important. What I mean by validating the workshop is that you talk to your customer. You can talk to a few people beforehand, just to kind of get an idea what their pain points are, their challenges. So you kind of ask them questions so you could just like make sure that those personas you're coming up with are accurate. And then you move on to the workshop, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Another way of doing it is that you come up with those personas, because where you add in your business is actually pretty good, because you know your customers really well, and you were actually able to tell me a lot of information just because you had your business for quite some time. So I would actually say that it was probably a good thing that we didn't work together at the beginning, because in fact it was so good that you had so much information about your customers. Oh, no, that's fine. What I was going to say is, yes, so the validation that you can do post the workshop, where you actually that customer journey map, then you talk to a few customers, and then you make sure that you're heading in the right direction. Because what you don't want to do is just to make assumptions and have a day where you just have these great ideas and come up with a plan, and then in fact it's not accurate. So I think that's one of the things that definitely needs to be done either before or after.
Yeah. So, Ali, I'm interested, just to backtrack again a little bit, would you have a recommendation or a preference about whether it's better to kind of niche, is there a difference between niche or niche, however you say it, niching and the personas? Are the personas within your niche, or is it kind of the same sort of thing? And do you have a preference with, if you had a brand new business that said, this is the thing that I do, and I think I kind of know who I want to work with, in setting up their personas and kind of creating a person without them having had a chance to really test that or put their message out and see who it attracts? Is it better to kind of have a really, really, really clear persona or niche or whatever? Or is it better, like you said, after you've been in business for a little while and you've kind of tried a few things out and you've worked out actually who you love working with? Is it kind of, do you have a preference, or is it kind of just take it whatever happens?
Yeah, that is a really good point. I think what I would suggest doing would be to definitely pick a niche or pick a persona that you genuinely believe you can provide value to, because you would feel that in your tummy. You would feel that passion around helping someone with a specific characteristics or specific things, right? So you would feel it, and that will be your starting point. What happens though is that very likely your business will evolve in such a way that you would start realizing that persona that you thought you wanted to serve then is not the only people that you want to serve, or in fact they might not be the only. So it is really interesting. I think it's really good to pick definitely a niche and pick a persona, so from the get-go you're able to articulate your content as if you were talking to them.
Yes.
Right? So that is really important. So you put those lenses on. What I would say, though, is that it's really important that you keep an open mind as you go and evolve in your business, to then say, hang on, am I still happy to just treat these customers beautifully?
Yeah.
Are there any other type of customers that I'm kind of feeling that I could help also?
Yeah.
And the world evolves so quickly, right? So many things are happening, and I think it's really good when we take that step back. And I think you do that beautifully in your business, that every 3 months, you kind of see it and take that moment to like evaluate what's happened, and then just like, okay, so I did this to these customers, I talked this way, my kind of my marketing strategy looked a little bit like this, my channels, like my website, look a little bit like this. How is everything working?
Yeah.
Are people hanging out on my website? Are they hanging out on my social media sites and that sort of thing? So
yeah, I think it's really interesting actually. And one thing that you probably have heard me talk about is that I'm really big on, if we're going to do an activity in our business that's a review or a report or something, it has to be to inform a decision, right? Like there's no point in running your profit and loss and putting it in a folder and never looking at it and not making it inform a decision. There's no point. There's it's just a waste of paper and a waste of time and a waste of running around worrying about having to print out your P&L. And I guess it's the similar sort of it's kind of the next step between and something that I do and a lot of my clients do is to really track their tribe, so their followers on Facebook, their Facebook group members, their newsletter list numbers, their listenership if they've got podcasts and that sort of thing. And the main things, the main decisions that those numbers kind of drive is social media strategy, really. And the social media strategy obviously feeds your bigger kind of messaging strategy, and overall, hopefully, making more money usually is what it kind of is feeding. But I hadn't really ever kind of considered so much. And in my review document, there's definitely a place for your tribe, and there's lots of information in there that you can look at. But I hadn't really, until we met, kind of consider reviewing and reflecting on and making sure that it's still aligned with what you're doing is the actual type of person. So I think that's a really interesting kind of thing, like you said. And it's probably something that it wouldn't take you having to actually sit down and stop to understand if it's ready for you to make a transition or to make some changes or to make an addition or to drop one of those personas off your main kind of target market. But I think it's a really, really great point that, you know, if you are doing a review every 3 months or every year or however often you kind of do that sort of process, that it's probably quite an important thing to check in about, probably with someone like yourself or just another person, just to kind of verbalize it a little bit and understand, this is my business and this is my direction and these are my personas. And is there a gap between those two, or am I missing something? Or, you know, like I'm actually feeling a bit of a, I've only ever had women clients so far, I think. I don't think I've had any male clients in this business. And I must admit it was something that I don't know if I'd go so far to say I miss it, but there's definitely, like, I'm feeling a bit of a pull to go, oh, these poor old blokes, like they, you know, there's, you know, not all of them. Some blokes wouldn't want any of that, the sort of help that I do, I don't think. But some guys, especially who work in a maybe a female-dominated industry or work in an industry where a lot of their clients are female, would really benefit from my message and my help and my support in that sort of a way. So I sort of think, well, the poor old blokes, maybe I should give them some love too. So, you know, it's not in the immediate future, and it's certainly not a message that I'm going to start changing anytime soon, but I'd love to sort of play around with that and sort of test it out. And, you know, I've had a couple of guys who've said, oh, so do you only work with women or do you work with men? And I'm like, yeah, I work with men as well, but it's never gone further than that. And I guess it's a bit of a block for myself, but it's quite a big difference. So, yeah, I think it's really interesting. The whole concept, like you said, I think we often will do a bit of work around niching and understand who we're talking to, but what you do is a completely different level. Like it's totally a different level to just working out what your niche is. So I think it's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, to your point, and very valid, you know, like you have, you know, a couple of blokes who kind of probably wanted to use your services, you know, at a point in time. And there is this concept of being agile in a business, which is, you know, you kind of make changes as you go and you test and learn. So it could be that you just work with those two guys and see where it takes you. And that might just end up really badly, or it might just be the best thing you've ever done. And then you make those decisions. And that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, especially in the digital space. And, you know, time and time again, we kind of set things up and forget about them. We set up our websites and forget about them. You know, we set up we do our social media content plan and put it all, you know, online and forget about it. So it's just different things that you just kind of got to be agile. And what I mean by that is just kind of got to look at people's responses and reactions to what you're doing in order for you to make changes to your current activities. So you can really start making little changes little tweaks really as you're going. So, you know, it could definitely be around what pages people are visiting on your website. If you had a specific, you know, a course, for example, an online course, and how people behaving on that, you know, things like new services that you're promoting. So, you know, if you put it out there as a pilot or as a trial, how is that being received and what changes you need to make on the way? And a really good way of doing that is always ask people questions around their experience with that particular product or service. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It could be just very simple 3 questions that you ask them around, once they finish, say, a module on a course, or it could be around the experience that they received on the website, or anything that you could get some feedback in order for you to make changes. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And I'm probably the type of person who makes things rather complicated. And I'm actually, it's been taking me a long time to get to a place where I'm like, Ali, just make it simple. And I've actually genuinely done my best to do that. So make it very simple, 3 questions that you could ask, 5 people max, and you will get so many insights from that, and really enough information to then make changes for further improvements in whichever area within your business.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I think we touched very briefly on the testimonials as a touch point. And I think it's a really nice way to kind of round out any sort of, it's not the end, obviously, but it's a really nice kind of end point to say, we've done this thing together. This is what I think we got out of it. How did you find it? And have an opportunity to really have that totally honest and open and, in a really authentic way, be asking for feedback, not just I want feedback so I can put it on my website and you can tell everyone how fantastic I am, but in a really genuine, responsive way. So if you give me some feedback that there was something that didn't really work for you or something you think could be improved, I'm going to take that on board. I might not necessarily agree with you and I might not necessarily make changes just because you said so, but I'm definitely here to listen, and it's really important to me to understand what your experience was like with me and my brand and my business and my team, if you've got a team, and that sort of thing. And if nothing else, even if they don't kind of either get back to you or if they do have something a bit yuck to say, I think it really still builds that know, like, and trust thing. Like, they trust you. If they can see that you genuinely care about what their experience has been and you genuinely going to take their feedback on board and potentially make some changes accordingly and give them that feedback, it's so much more likely to leave that kind of experience of having a really great experience.
Yes,
like 3 times, but yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So the thing that I was really interested in, and something that is on my to-do list, of course, since we chatted, was to really kind of finalize what those touch points looked like, because I feel like that's a bit of a missed opportunity for my business. So just so that everyone knows what that means and what we're talking about, can you maybe just explain what a touch point is in terms of the customer journey, and some examples that you've maybe seen of really fantastic touch points that are nice little bonuses, nice little tweaks, and perhaps things that things that make you stand out. So, for example, if, for me, for my business, what sort of things could I or someone similar to me kind of offer as almost an automated, but still that personalized and individualized extra little bonus to make them feel loved and feel the Claire magic or the whatever magic your name is, and have some of that kind of extra little interactions there.
Yes. So basically, a touch point, as the way it's defined, it is an interaction between you and your customer. So that could be an email that they receive from you, so that's a touch point. It could be a video that they watch on your YouTube channel, that's a touch point. It could be a newsletter that you sent out. It could be a post on your social media. It could be a call that you have with them. It could be a one-on-one session. It could be a website visit. There are several touch points from the moment someone is thinking about engaging with you or the moment they have already engaged with you. So it takes, I think Google's got a really good it's called the 0 moment of truth, and I think it takes around 11 times that someone needs to see a message across 7 different touch points before they can make a decision, or something around those lines. So it takes definitely several touch points before someone is able to move to a place of trust and to move to a place of, I think I need Claire in my life.
Yeah.
I think, and personally, I could speak for me, when we started coming across each other on Facebook and on all of these Facebook groups. So clearly, I kind of had an idea of what you did and some planning and organizational skills and project management and, making people's lives easier and, all of those beautiful things. But, I wasn't in the right place in my journey to engage with you until I did.
Yep.
And this is key. People are going through their personal journeys and that's so important. It doesn't mean that they're not ready.
They don't want you. Yeah.
They don't want you. It's that they're not ready. And this is so important for us to definitely keep in mind, that you need to keep doing what you're doing, because people are listening to you. People are watching your videos. People are listening to your podcast. They're just not ready.
Yeah.
And so that's why these touch points become so important, because you need to then enhance that experience the best possible way you can to give those moments of delight. So a few examples that I can give could be around, someone that goes onto your website and downloads a free PDF on, planning and how to become more organized. The next thing they receive probably would be very likely be the PDF. And that is one touch point, right? So what can you do to make that a little bit more beautiful and engaging? Could it be that on top of what you send them and promise to send them, you can give an extra free bonus that they were not expecting? And this is something really beautiful. And a lot of people do this, actually, that they said, put your email and I'll send you X, Y, or Z. And then they get something else. And that's like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And I was not expecting that. And this caused a lot of, a lot of happiness, I suppose, from that customer. It's like, oh, that's really cool. So that is just the very beginning of the process. So you're engaging with this person, you're building the trust. They might come to your website and have some information, kind of have a little bit of a read around your services. They might, flick through your Facebook page and watch a video. And you might have an offer on that video. If they happen to sign up for that offer, obviously you would have a call to action on that offer. You might say, sign up here. And then they go to that, and you can potentially, if you had a private group, for example, you could even have a specific URL for the people who are watching that, so you can make it extremely personal and say, this is just for you, and make it extremely powerful. And so, someone could sign up for something that they feel that it was just made for them. It could be things like on your newsletter. We tend to do a lot of like a blank approach newsletter. So it's kind of sent to everyone. It kind of reads the same way. And as we know very well, people are really expecting that personalization and that being individual feeling. So a really good way of doing that is that you send that newsletter with different pieces of content based on what these people want from you. Because they're also not going to be on the same journey. Some of them might be at the very beginning of their journey with you. Some might have already engaged with you. Some might be at the very end. So you don't want to give the same information to all of them. So what you do is that you create personal content to all of these personas. And that's a really beautiful way that you can do that. So rather than having a blank approach, you're just really giving something quite individual to them. So they feel more empowered to make a choice. They feel more empowered around, the decision they need to make. So it just makes things easier for them to make that decision. And that's probably what you want. A lot of people do things like, if someone signs up for a course or your service, make that decision a beautiful one. So make them feel that they made the right choice. And I was actually listening to Amy Porterfield a few months back, and she's got a great example, which I actually have implemented myself, is how can you make it personal once they sign up for say your online course, for example. You can send them a welcome video that is, that feels personal. It could be that actually go and make a call, and you call them and say, I'm so pumped that you just signed up, and do you have any questions? I know that probably will be a little bit awkward at first and you might do that at the very beginning of your business because you don't have as many clients perhaps, but you could do that. You could send a personalized postcard on the mail. You could do little things that it genuinely shows that you care. And I think people are genuinely expecting this, and it doesn't matter the industry that you're on, because there is so much happening with big companies doing a lot of this personalization that people actually expect that across the board. Yeah. So it puts a lot of pressure in businesses, because it's like, well, if I'm getting it from my internet provider, why can I not get it from my electricity provider? Like, I want the same thing. Like,
so true. Yeah.
So it's the same with us. It's like, if I receive a beautiful experience from freaking Amy Porterfield, why can't I not get these from these other podcasts?
That's right.
It's really about that. People have massive expectations, which puts a lot of pressure on us. But I think if genuinely we come from a place of heart, and we come from a place where we know our customers so well, and we pick we pick that niche and we're so passionate about, then
it makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
It's exactly. It's like, if you're working with a target audience that you hate, and you're like, oh my God, every time you think about them, you just want to cry, then
you're with the wrong audience.
A beautiful experience. Exactly. You just got to pick the right audience, and then everything from there will be so much easier.
Yeah. So I think that's all awesome. I love what you were saying about the journey that when I used to think about touch points, I was like, I've just got to get my automated email sequence set up and then I'll be right. And it's actually so much more than that. And there's so much, I mean, the sky's the limit. There's so many things that you can do. You probably go absolutely crazy if you got your hands on one business and they said, just, sort out whatever you want to sort out. I think it's really important for people to understand that there's passive and active types of touch points. So the passive stuff, and like you said, when you're putting things on social media, a lot of people are like, but no one ever responds. I only get one like, or I don't even get comments, and no one shares my stuff and all that sort of thing. And I say, that doesn't really matter. Like, it's awesome when people do that. And if you get a post that goes a bit viral and people are messaging, but like you said, people just absorb this sort of information, especially if it's branded and it's kind of got the, your stamp on it, and it's either got your face or your voice or your message or a video, and all these little things that kind of just like stack up so that people go, okay, there's Claire. Oh, there's Claire again. Oh yeah, she's always talking about planning. She must be, okay, and she likes that color pink and she does this. And I think there's a podcast, like it kind of just stacks up. And like you said, they don't have to do anything. It's just building a profile and recognition and that know, like, trust and that connection and that, filing things away so that when they do get to the point where they go, I need some help with my planning. I don't know what to do. Hang on. Isn't there someone deep in the back of my brain who does planning? Oh yeah, I know who it is because I see that she's posting all the time or whatever. I get her message. So I think that's really interesting that, it doesn't have to be all once you've actually spoken to someone, once someone said, hey, I'm thinking about working with you, or how do I work with you? It doesn't start then. It starts so much earlier. So in terms of just being present and just being authentic and being yourself and being honest and being totally it doesn't even have to be on message all the time. I think just, we get really caught up with having a message, and we've all got lots of messages, right? We've all got our message, and there's all, kind of the cornerstone of what our businesses is around and that sort of thing. But there are so many other little bits and pieces, and there's so much more of us that we can bring to the table as well. So I think, don't get too caught up with having to have everything completely stepped out and perfect. Recovering perfectionist, don't have anything like completely stepped out and perfect, and it doesn't all have to be perfect. When you're even replying to someone else's comment on social media, that's branding. Like, that is building up that kind of recognition and that sort of thing. It doesn't all have to be branded, doesn't all have to be on message, doesn't all have to have your logo on it and all that sort of thing. It's all a thing, right? So I think that's really interesting. So just to wrap up, I think there's probably some people, myself included, when we first talked, who's going, yeah, that all sounds really great, Ali, but I don't have the time or the money or the know-how to do this. So, like I said, the sky's the limit, and you could spend weeks and months setting up these beautiful systems and automations and email templates and social media and content and blah, 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 all these sort of things. what would be your top couple of tips of things that people can start doing today to improve that customer journey and to really love their customers really hard?
Okay. I would probably say that one of the things that we need to think about is how many people are we talking to around what we offer. And what I mean by that is that are we asking people if we're solving the number one problem they have in their businesses or their lives or whatever it is? Are we helping them in a way that it feels that, you know, we're providing value? And I think there is a lot of research that talks about you know, asking people what they want, but people don't know what they want. So you need to ask them, what don't you want? And so it almost go reverse thinking. And if you ask them what they don't want, they will tell you. Excellent. So if you ask that question, they will definitely tell you what they don't want. And
that's obvious one to avoid.
Yes, exactly. And once you ask those questions, I would say and I think we did this on our workshop, have 3 to 4 metrics that you can really have as your hierarchy of goals in your business that you can track consistently, whether it is, you know, the number of customers you want to have, the frequency you're posting, it could be, you know, your income, it could be anything, but you're genuinely tracking this, and you could that would actually help you, not just from, you know, delivering something that feels, you know, great for you personally, but it would also help with the actions that you take from a marketing or communication perspective in your business. So this is something that I would genuinely suggest, and have those metrics and look at them, you know, every 90 days, every week, whatever it is, but just look at them. And I would also say, you know, have that moment to regularly take that step back and actually look at what sort of customers you have in your business. Are they the right customers? Are do you still feel that do you still feel that fire in your tummy when you think about them? If you don't, something has to change. And it could be that, you know, you need to change the experience you're providing to them. It could be that they're just not right for you anymore. It could be anything. So have that moment of reflection, and then just make changes as well. Keep on trialing little changes in your business, and they don't have to be big. You know, trial and error. I'm a big advocate for that, and I think that's something that we could all learn about.
I love it, Ali. I love you. I love your business. I love the customer journey. It's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've loved chatting with you. Now I'm sure there'll be a whole heap of new Ali fans, as I know there always is everywhere you go, I'm sure. How can people get in touch with you? How can people follow you and become one of your peeps?
Oh, thank you. So you can go to my Facebook page, which is Square One, so SQR1ONE. And I've also got a page on Instagram, so you can go Square One AU. And you can also go to my website, sqrone.com.au.
Fantastic. And all of those links will be in the show notes for anyone watching and listening as well. But it has been an absolute pleasure listening and talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm sure there'll be something else in the future that we'll need to jump on and do another show on, I'm sure. And I will definitely see you around the traps very soon as well.
It will be my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Claire. This has been so much fun.
Yay, it's so much fun. All right, darling, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.